Hey everybody, I want to talk for just a couple moments about some things in iRacing that I see going on. I understand now something I didn't understand before, why if you are the victim of contact, iRacing gives you a penalty. Since I've gotten back into sim racing, I bought my new pedals and my new steering wheel so I could actually get back in. I've noticed some things I never really noticed before. The drivers that... I'll put it like this. The best way I can put it is there's a lot of driving, but not a lot of racing. Now, I'm not the fastest guy out here by any means, but one thing that was hammered into me back when I was with FS Real Racing, way back in the day, with guys like Ed Wernsing, who many of you may not know, Jonathan Sanford, who some of you may know, and David Cater, who, if you know anything about iRacing, you know the name David Cater. I didn't get to race with him a lot, but that guy taught me as much about painting cars as he teaches people now about setting them up. I'm sure you've seen David Cater's videos, the talks he gives, about, how getting the cars to drive realistically. Well, that's a guy who also knows how to make them look realistic. Very, very cool guy. I didn't get to run a lot of races with him back then, but he taught me a lot about painting a car and making it look real for broadcast purposes. But I digress off of that. One thing that got hammered into us was watching the F3. Watching the F3 screen. This is back when it was NASCAR Racing 2003. iRacing's built on the same code. The F3 is still the relative. When I say I see a lot of driving but not a lot of racing, there's a lot of drivers out there who don't seem to understand about the sporting code. Guys have an off, and they immediately come back on the track in the racing groove, just blocking drivers off, causing incidents behind them, throwing other guys off their lines. And that's a very selfish move. You see the same thing in practice, where you're coming in for a hot lap, and a driver just pulls right off a pit road right in front of you, as if you were never there. Now, I had a driver the other day tell me in practice, this is what practice is for. And he was out there doing that, chopping people off as they passed him under the apex. He would go ahead and come down the apex and wreck them, basically. He would block lines coming out of turns, and that's what practice is for. And I told him point blank, no, practice is not for that. Practice is not for intentionally wrecking people because you're not going to get a lot of points off of your ratings or off of your SR. There are drivers out here who are working very hard to get faster. I show up in every practice session with the goal of being the fastest driver in that practice session, setting the fastest time, and then doing it consistently. And there are a lot of drivers who do that. And for those who are coming off of pit road and coming out of turns, coming back on the track such a way, it has really made me understand why that even as a victim of contact, you still get a 4X. It's unfortunate and it's sad, but it's because of people doing things like that. That's the only way to have an automated system for them to get penalized for being discourteous like that. For, you're fast, you're driving the car, but you're not racing. There's give and take in racing. You come off the track, watch that F3. There's fast drivers coming around you, let them go. You're not going to get, more penalties staying off the track than you will coming back on the track in front of traffic. You're also going to upset your fellow drivers. You're going to mess their races up. And that's what I see happening now, and that's why I understand completely about the 4X. There's a lot of situations where you just get caught up, and it's unfortunate. But that's the only way for these racers who are driving in this manner to have any sort of penalty for the way they're driving. And what really surprises me is because iRacing is software as a service, and these drivers are paying for the chance to come out here and race. And these aren't just rookies who I see doing this. These are drivers who have gone up through the D and C classes. And I've seen a couple of Bs, to be honest with you. I've seen a couple of B-class drivers do this too in races. It really surprises me that the amount of selfishness you see through those moves. Now, again, I'm not the fastest driver on the track. I'm not the best driver in the world. And there are times where I let my emotions get the better of me as well. But this is a constant. This is something I've seen all weekend at Lime Rock, as a matter of fact. And it's just really made me understand why the penalty system is what it is. You can be as mad as you want that you got caught up in someone else's crap. But otherwise, because there are no live officials, there's no way for that driver who took that selfish action, who came back onto the track into the racing groove, who lost control and then decided to block the racing line to try to save positions, the driver who came off of pit road in front of the field, there's no way for them to be held accountable otherwise. So I get it now. I really understand it, and I'm really, I really hope that this little small video opens some other drivers' eyes who may be racing like that, or who may also be questioning the penalty system. See you guys on the track.